Alright, we're here on the eve of the Born of the Gods release, getting in one last Theros draft. Our first pack here, a lot of playables, nothing amazing. I like Dauntless Onslaught a lot. One of the best reasons to be in a white kind of heroic deck. Freakus Mender is very good in the black-green deck, which is one of the best archetypes. Mogus's Marauder also very good in that deck. Agent of Horizons is fine. Leaf Crown Dryad is a strong card. We're probably not going to wheel any of the good cards in this pack. We like Ill-Tempered Cyclops. Some people will be tempted to just take the red card here. I do kind of like staying away from green for that reason. But I think I just take Dauntless Onslaught here. I think it's the strongest card. Alright, so Nimbus Naiad is a very good card. Nemesis Immortals is also very good. For me, there's two archetypes I guess there's three archetypes I tend towards. One is green and something, with an emphasis on getting out your big green monsters and just outclassing your opponent's creatures. The other is some kind of blue-black based control. And the third is some kind of aggro deck. That's generally white. It can be any combination of white, blue, black, and red. Green is the only deck that really can build an aggro deck. Nimbus 9 is probably the best card in this pack, and that's what we're going to take. So things get tricky here. We don't have any of the creatures that we really want for the white aggro deck, but we again see one of the best spells for that deck in God's Willing. Great heroic enabler. And usually trades with a card. Grey Merchant, of course, is one of the best cards in Theros. And just a couple of these in your deck can make it very strong. It's a tough call here. We're still very open. Getting past this 2 turns gives me a good feeling that black may be open, because no one in black would pass this twice. And with 2 commons missing, I really don't know what was taken from this pack. Maybe Lightning Strike. I think I do take the Grey Merchant. God's Willing is just not as important to that deck as Grey Merchant can be to its deck. I like this a lot. The cost is fair, and once it's online, it can be very powerful, especially with a heroic. We'll expect to get these a little bit later than this. This card is more than fine in the green-white deck, but we're pretty far away from green-white right now. And this card is really... If we end up blue-black, this card fits a lot better. If we end up in a slightly more aggressive deck, this card does not fit that well. So we're going to take the Charlatan. We're pretty happy with that. And we'll see how this comes together. And one thing about this Charlatan, it can go with the blue-black deck with removal spells, or it can go with the blue-white deck with kind of tricks. So we're going to want some 2-drops eventually, but at this point I think Triton is just a better choice. Cavern Lampad does not make me want to move towards black. So really, blue is looking pretty open. We're not sure about black yet. Getting that Grey Merchant was a good sign, but we haven't seen much since then. I think we're going to take this Triton Fortune Hunter, and there's a lot of colors can pair well with blue in this set. Okay. These are fine cards. If you're in those colors, you want them in your sideboard. Nothing here to make me move out of the colors I'm currently in. This is pretty sad. This is a really bad pack. I mean, 10 picks left, and this is it. The best card is either Traveler's Amulet, chosen by Heliod. Probably, I mean, Pharaoh's Bend, Centaurs might be the best card in this pack. But yeah, we're just gonna take chosen by Heliod. Hoping that maybe we get some early white or blue drops. Otherwise, we might be headed towards some kind of black deck. This is a very late Leaf Crown Dryad. Kragma Warcaller. The Gods Willing here is a good sign, but we got the enablers and we don't have the cards for it. That makes taking this a little bit sketchy. Whereas Leaf Crown Dryad is a good enabler on its own. Passing this could be a signal that white's open, but we usually see tricks later. I don't think we have a second color yet, so I think I'm going to take the Leaf Crown Dryad here. It's just a good card. Okay. Usually if I end up in blue-white, I want to be a little more aggressive, but it is possible we end up in a slightly more controlling blue-white deck. I'm definitely, even though I'm almost certainly in blue, I'm not going to take Fate Foretold over Divine Verdict, and I think this is very late Divine Verdict, so we're going to take that. We're not really happy with the number of threats we have right now, though. Crackling Triton is okay if we go back towards red, although if we think there's any chance we'll play red, Ill-Tempered Cyclops might be a better choice, because we'll probably see at least one more Crackling Triton. Theros Band Centaurs is okay, but not where I want to be. I'm going to take this. Packs are not great. This almost never makes my deck. This can be played against an aggressive deck as a sideboard card generally. And I think I might take that. This is a fine card if you ever get to cast it. I'm going to take a Thassa's Bounty here. Yeah, we'll take the 2-drop. I'm not thrilled that it doesn't have any kind of heroic. This is a sign that no one's in the green-white archetype, which can be good, although we've passed so many cards for it. But we haven't seen any of the green counter guys. We'll pick that up now. There's a lot of possibilities we have going into pack 2. I don't mind being blue-black, blue-green, blue-red, or blue-white. And there's an outside chance here of us ending up green-white if we were to see something like a Centaur Battlemaster. This is not going to make our deck. So we don't have a deck yet, but we've got some cards. This is a tough call. Prognostic Sphinx is very good. Of course, Griptide's very good too. We did, our first plan, and the one that we have the most cards for, was kind of this blue-white heroic deck. Although we passed a few enablers for it. That does make this Battle-Wise Hoplite tempting. Chance there that we wheel a sideboard card or a Cavalry Pegasus, which would be fine. It doesn't look like this black plan is working out, and probably my next best deck after that is going to be this white-green plan, and there's nothing here that's great for that either. So I'm still kind of keeping my options open, but I'm going to take this Battle-Wise Hoplite. I don't like passing the Prognostic Sphinx here, but it's not what this deck needs. So Vaporkin is fine. It's an evasive 2-drop. I'm going to hide this Gray Merchant. I think that's pretty much ruled out. And I think red is not going to happen for us. But we're still, we've got 4 good blue cards, 2 good green-white cards, and we're very low on 2-drops. Emissary is very good. Voyaging Satyr is very good. Vaporkin is the kind of aggressive 2-drop that we want to get some pressure on. It's definitely between those cards. Going towards green means we are giving up 2 of our better cards in Battlewise Hoplite and Nimbus Naiad, and we haven't seen that much evidence that green is terribly open either. So we're going to take the Vaporkin here. Okay, this is exactly what we want for this deck, so snap pick. I did not mean to snap pick it that quickly though. Sorry I didn't show you that pack. But yeah, there's pretty much, if you're moving in on this deck, there's not much that you want more than a Wingsteed Rider. And following that up with a Hopeful Eidolon, also exactly what we want. Good cards here for other decks. Borderland Minotaur is just a really solid card in the red deck. Sedge Scorpion is one of the most important cards in a green deck, because if that deck can clog the battlefield early with some Death Touch guys that you don't want to trade with, it can easily overpower you with its 4, 5, and 6 drops. Anger of the Gods is also good for the same reason. It can deal with your opponent's early threats, while you can play some bigger guys. But our deck wants Hopeful Eidolon here. Not a great pack for us. We still don't have that many. We've got 3 heroic guys. We'd really like to pick up another Hoplite or another 2-drop blue or white heroic guy here. But Aqueous Form is probably what we want. The Scry is important. The Unblockable is important to get damage through late in the game. We certainly want that more than we want an Opaline Unicorn with the curve that we have here, which really maxes out at 5 right now with Nimbus Naiad. So Aqueous Form will be the pick. It doesn't cantrip, but it will do work for us. And Breaching Hippocamp is probably going to be the pick here. It's not a card that I'm excited about, but I have no problem including this in my deck if I'm short on playables. Occasionally it will be used for an ambush. In this deck, it's usually going to be something you play at the end of your opponent's turn and give you kind of a surprise attacker. So sometimes you'll beat their combat math because you had an attacker they weren't anticipating. I like trading Fortune Hunter a lot, but I actually think I'm more likely to be short on tricks than I am on 3-drops. If this was a good 2-drop heroic guy, I'd take it over God's Willing at this point. But with what I'm dealing with here, I'm going to take God's Willing. And yeah, so sure enough, this is a fine 3-drop for this deck. It's not as good as the Fortune Hunter, but we don't have a problem playing it. Vanquish the Foul is an option. This is a sideboard card I'd like to pick up at some point. But I feel a little light on creatures. This is just, almost as good as Nessian Courser. Yeah, we'll just take a sideboard card here. So we'll get brought in sometimes. I'll probably take Unknown Shores here, just in case I pick up something worth splashing, which isn't that likely. I'm really, at this point, hoping to get some more 2-drops. I'd like to see some tempo cards, be it Cryptide or the 2-mana bounce spell. And hey, maybe we'll open an Elspeth in the next pack. we're not going to be able to activate this. We're just going to take the Annul as a sideboard card. This is an option at this point. This is a card you don't mind bringing in against, playing against my deck. This is a card you'd want in your sideboard, but we're not going to win a deck where we need to bring this in to fend off early pressure. So this has never actually made my deck. I've always been curious how it works. I often play Flamecast Wheel, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna pick this up and just see if it makes the cut. We'll see how it plays. And that is far from the worst last pick that you could have. Okay. Sideboard card. This is out. We're not in red. This is out. This is a sideboard card. This is out. This is a maybe. That's a maybe. This bounty is a maybe. So we've got a Vapor Can, which we'd like to pick up. This deck needs Heroic and it needs early drops. So Favored Hoplite is pretty much exactly what we want. We'd like to, wheel a Vapor Can if we can. I don't really have anything. I'd like to have a Temple of Deceit, but we're just going to try to win some games here. If we wheel Traveling Philosopher, we don't mind that either. So yeah, we'll take the Favored Hoplite. We'd like to see maybe one Ordeal in pack 3 here. Okay. This is tricky. Voyage's End is a card that we very much want in this deck. But we're at 13 creatures, and I don't love all of them. I'm going to take out kind of our maybe cards here and see what we're left with. Yeah, so we're at 10 creatures. This is just a card that this deck really wants. It clears out a blocker. It's great if you can bestow it. Dauntless Onslaught is amazing, but we already have one in here. And I don't know if we're going to be able to get a Voyage's End. This serves a similar purpose, although it's much slower. It does not tie up your opponent's mana as much. But I think we have to take the Elk here. So that's what it's going to be. And a Battle-Wise Hoplite. Passing a Lightning Strike that we are far away from casting, and this pack is not even close. This maybe makes us want that Dauntless Onslaught a little bit more. One of the reasons I passed it is that we don't have a ton of heroic guys. It was really just Favored Hoplite, the 2 Hoplites, the Rider, and the Fortune Hunter. Now we've got 5. We have a decent chance of picking up another Fortune Hunter in this pack, or maybe maybe some other heroic guy. But we'll take the Hoplite here and we'll be happy. Alright, a second Divine Verdict is pretty nice. That makes us feel not as bad passing that, I always forget the name of that card. The 2 Voyage's End. So maybe we can't bounce something, but we can just kill it outright when it tries to block. That's not a bad thing. Good green cards. If I was green-black right now, this would be a tough pack to choose from. These are all key cards in that deck. Savage Sword usually pretty easy to pick up, but the Satyr, the Disciple, the Goliath, and the Marauder are all very good cards in that deck. So we did get a second God's Willing. One of these in the sideboard is enough. We're probably not going to play an Unknown Shores just to be able to crack this. This guy could be an option, but we are getting close to, we don't mind having the God's Willing here. It's usually going to trade with something. Although we're getting to the point now where we're at 19 playables, we got 10 cards to go. We probably want a Cavalry Pegasus here, just because we don't have that many humans on the ground. The Elder is not a human, the Charlatan is. So we've got 1, 2, 3. We've only got 4 humans. I don't know what's more important there. It could be, I think it's going to be this Coastline Chimera. Okay, perfect. Although this makes us want that Cavalry Pegasus a little bit more, but we might still get one of those. We'll just take the Philosopher here and be happy with a 2-drop. Yeah, we'd like to play this guy, but it's not realistic. So we're going to take another Philosopher, and at this rate we are playing both of those. We have a 3rd Traveling Philosopher, a Battle Priest, which does have Heroic but a marginal effect, Glare of Heresy for the sideboard. At 22 cards, do I think that it's worth taking the Glare of Heresy yet? We've got one of these already if we need it. I actually like Prowler's Helm quite a bit too, although I don't know what the chances are we have like a beefy guy that we're really getting through with it. So I'm going to take the sideboard card, and we'll see if it does anything for us. And we did get the Battle Priest anyway, and I was pretty split on the Philosopher versus the Battle Priest. I'm really hoping that Cavalry Pegasus makes its way back around, because we did get like 3 humans since we passed that. So we either take the Yoked Ox as an outside chance at a sideboard card, or we take Arena Athlete, just kind of as a hate draft against the opposing aggro deck. I don't think we ever sideboard in Yoked Ox, so I'll just take the Athlete. And we'll take this guy, take another sideboard card. Foil Forest. And this is pretty much going to be our deck. We're at 16 creatures, so that's good. We got there with playables. Our deck's not super strong. Our win plan is put some tempo on, put some damage on early, and then win with evasion, which could come from our Heliod's Emissary. It could come from the Vaporkin. But we got a decent number of tricks too, which gives us some possibility of trading early. Nimbus Naiad is also a good chance of being a win condition for us. So one of the counterintuitive things about this set is Heroic triggers when you cast a spell, not when the spell targets it. So if you copy a spell with Melted Charlatan, you didn't actually cast it, it does not trigger Heroic again. Kind of sucks. So the whole reason we ended up in this archetype would be Dauntless Onslaught. There's no benefit for us to playing humans really, so Snarecaster I think is just better, at least to play the 1. Chosen by Heliod as a cantrip, so no concerns there. I forgot that I picked up this Aqueous form, so I'm glad I didn't take that Prowler's Helm now. That serves the same purpose, and helps us scry, which can keep the fuel coming. So we're not going to be playing any of this. Hippocamp here is possible. I'm curious how this plays, just because I haven't played it, but I can't imagine. Well, it just seems to come down so late, and my deck really has problems with the bigger creatures. But I mean, this taking out Nessian Coursers, taking out Cyclops before they're monstrous, taking out big walls, it's not bad at all, and it can kind of do double duty, stop them from attacking on their turn and also remove a blocker on your turn. I think I'm going to try this out. I'm just curious. Coastline Chimera is not essential here. This is probably not. This is definitely a sideboard card. I think this is a sideboard card for us. Sideboard. So we're looking for 2 cards, also a sideboard. We're probably not playing either of these cards. I just don't think it's what our deck wants. So our last card is going to be between these. I'm going to put the Chimera up here too and say that we can have 3 of these cards. I think I want the second Gods Willing. Let me just look at my enablers here. So removal, we've got, I mean, this deck is coming together okay. We've got good bestow creatures, we've got good heroic enablers, and we've got some solid removal too. I really wish we had gotten Voyage's End or a Griptide, but I think the Battle-Wise Hoplite that we took there is just a little more important. I think we want another God's Willing. This might be, between these 2 cards could easily be a sideboard decision. I think we're going to play one of these 2 and one of these 2. This is just a little too defensive for what I want to do. When I do have a trick or an enchantment or a bestow guy, I really want to be casting it on something that's going to get bigger. Or I want to be casting it on something that's going to draw me a card. So I don't think I want this out there. I think I just want another Philosopher. Little heavy on the kind of do nothing 2-drops here, but I think that's what we want. We don't want to not have a play until our 3rd turn, and especially because by the time you're on turn 3, turn 4, you usually are wanting to play some of your heroic enablers too. Not that we have that many, so if we Heliod's Emissary, I'm just going to leave here. That's we'll bestow it if in some situations, but a lot of times that's just going to get cast. Whereas the Eidolon and the Naiad, we'd really prefer to bestow. So again, this, what are we untapping with this? I guess it could be our beefed up guy that we've been swinging in with. Maybe he's unblockable. They try to crack back, and we can do the surprise on tap. Especially with Gods Willing or something like that, where we can protect our blocker. That's not bad at all. This is a pretty defensive card. It does a great job at that. But it can also get in there because it's a flyer. We don't have anything to really beef it up that much. But casting this and bestowing his Emissary on it, if the game goes that long, that can be a big game. So I think we're going to start with the Hippocamp. Depending on how game 1 goes, this is something we can certainly consider putting in. If they have a lot of flyers, we can pretty much shut that down with this. So the only question in this deck is, for me, Melodist Charlatan. It's a 2/3 for 3, which is not terrible. We just gotta ask ourselves, it doesn't do anything for our heroic, so what are we copying? God's Willing, it's fine, it gives us extra scry, and we love to copy Dauntless Onslaught, and if the situation arises where our opponent has 2 attacking or blocking creatures, we get to copy a Divine Verdict for 7 mana. That's just, a blowout. Game 2, we might have, if we're playing a mirror match with another white deck, Exile White Permanent could become pretty relevant with that. So it's not a great card in this deck, but I've got enough 2-drops here that I'm not worried about it costing 1 more. And I don't really care for the Coastline Chimera over it. So we're going to stick with this for now. 16 creatures, that's good. Everything kind of works together here. The 2 cards that are just outside the plan are just solid removal spells. So we don't mind that at all. Let's look at our colors. Yeah, so vastly more white spells. We're going at least 10-7 here. We've got to think about whether we want to go to 9-8. If we have a Hoplite in our opening hand, we want to cast it on turn 2. But we also would really like to cast the Wingsteed Rider on turn 3. Although this can be a little bit less important because sometimes, if you have Wingsteed Rider and God's Willing in your hand, sometimes you're just going to wait to be able to protect it, because that's a that's a good turn if your opponent lightning strikes Wingsteed Rider and you have the answer for it. So let's look at the stats. Yeah, we are mostly white. 10-7. Now, one thing is, in terms of our early drops, we've got 3 that require blue. And we've got 5 that require white. So we don't mind playing. I want to go 9-8, but I'm not sure about it. It could cost us on the Wingsteed Rider, but Battle-Wise Hoplite makes things a little bit awkward. So here we go.